and thank God, because this went so off the rails. The thing I'm most proud of is that I've gotten to a point where I can really express myself with cake decorating, and it's starting to feel like a true artistic outlet for me. Hi everyone, my name is Krista, and I want to show you all today. I have been a hobbyist cake baker and mostly cake decorator for about a year now, and so I wanted to show my progress. I thought that this is something I've been doing maybe 1 or 2 cakes a month, maybe not even that, for the past year. So I kind of wanted to show a realistic year of progress with someone who has been intentional about trying to get better, but also not making it their whole entire life and not professional. So I thought it would be super fun, especially because I'm really proud looking back at my first cake I ever tried to decorate, not bake, but decorate, and it was such a fail. And so now I'm really proud of where I'm at now. And so I really wanted to show that and share that with everyone. A little bit about me. I am a dietitian by day, and I love food and cooking and baking and all of that. But I started to get a little bit burnt out with feeling like I always had to be making things healthy. And I felt like nutrition is such a contentious space right now. There's a lot of emotions and a lot of strong opinions going around, that I kind of just wanted to do something that was fun and creative and not tied to health in any way. So just for me. So that's how I kind of got into cake decorating. I've been baking as a hobby my whole life. Doesn't mean that I'm an expert at it or anything like that. I still can't go too much further than following a recipe. When it comes to maybe a filling or a frosting, I can make my own recipe, but actual baking, I still need to follow someone else's recipe. So I'm pretty comfortable with the actual baking side of things, but I have been spending the last year really focused on decorating and trying to get better at that, because I think it's so beautiful. And so I have a slideshow for you all today of all the cakes I've baked in the last year, plus a bonus. And we can kind of go over what I liked, what I didn't like, what was a challenge for me, what I'm working on, and just share. All right, so let me share my screen. So we're going to start with the first cake I ever learned or I ever tried to decorate. This was for my husband's birthday 2 years ago. So this is, I said a year's worth of progress plus a bonus. And this is the bonus because I did this and then I didn't really touch cake decorating again for a year. This was for my husband's birthday party that we threw at our home, and I baked a lot of desserts for this. I baked 2 cakes and cookies and these little cheesecake thingies. And I thought I would try to decorate the cake, and I didn't look up any instructions on how to do anything. So this was a homemade red velvet cake and homemade cream cheese frosting, and I did not know how to pipe at all. I don't even think I had legit piping bags. Maybe I got 1 or 2 just for this. And then clearly I had a piping tip, but I probably had 1. And then this is the store-bought writing gel, which is so hard to work with. And I don't think I have the best handwriting anyway, plus the writing gel. So it was just a mess. And this was a thing that made me realize how hard cake decorating is, because I wasn't trying to do anything fancy. I definitely wasn't going for an old-fashioned style cake decorating or anything like that. I was just trying to do something simple. But even that, I just physically could not do. And I thought it was so funny. I wasn't embarrassed to present this at the party. I was it is what it is. This cake is freaking delicious, so it's fine if it looks a little wonky. But I still think this cake holds a really special place in my heart because it's my first attempt, and you can tell that I put a lot of effort into the cake, and it was made with a lot of love, even if the decorations totally went off the rails. So yeah, I didn't know how to pipe. I didn't even really know how to actually frost. You can tell from the edges here that even frosting the cake itself was a struggle. And I think partially it's because I didn't know that this type of frosting made a difference and that cream cheese frosting would be harder. But also it's red velvet. It has to be cream cheese frosting, right? So that was a cake I made in late 2023. And then I didn't really touch cake decorating again for almost a year. And I still liked baking, but I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm going to get ready to start learning how to decorate cakes. And then this is when I just lied. I'm so sorry. So I did this 6 months later. This was a Pride cake I made for someone to celebrate Pride. And so I guess I made this 6 months later. So I guess you can say I touched cake decorating one more time in that year. And so I did rainbow cake. If you can't tell, but each layer was kind of tie-dye swirls of 2 different colors. So this was red and orange, yellow and green, and then blue and purple. And then I don't remember why. My intention was to have different colors of frosting on top, and I don't remember why, but I remember that that plan fell apart and I couldn't do it anymore. So I had to then take white chocolate and dye that, and then like I broke it up into like mosaic pieces and covered the cake in the different colors of white chocolate. So it does have all six colors of the rainbow and the white chocolate on top. And it was super pretty. It was super fun. It was super well received. The white chocolate was a bananas choice that I made. It was like, I have the biggest sweet tooth in the world, even though I'm a dietitian. And it was too sweet even for me. I was like, I can't believe I just did this. But it was super fun and it was super well received. And it was a really fun way to celebrate Pride Month. Now we get to where I'm actually starting to dedicate time to cake decorating and trying to intentionally get better at it. So this is like the first cake I would say actually in my cake decorating journey. And the from here on out, you're going to see a lot of like birthday cakes for people. And the truth is, I don't know most of them. I volunteer for this organization where you can bake cakes for people who otherwise might not have an opportunity to have a birthday cake. Or like a graduation cake, I think is also super common. So sometimes you just get like the person's name and age and then their preferences, like flavors or like themes, and you don't really know anything about this person. So this is one of those cakes where I just knew their name and their age and that they wanted like all chocolate. Like they wanted chocolate frosting, chocolate cake, chocolate filling, everything. And this was like my first, I think, actually decorated cake. And so I was really not confident with writing and piping. I'm still not. But so I did the white chocolate letters for the age and the birthday. And then I actually wrote his name in white chocolate and then froze it and then put it on the cake when I was done. And then you can tell that I still don't really know how to pipe. But you know, I tried to do something to make it look nice. And then luckily this person wanted like chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. And so where the edges where it got kind of messy because I still struggle with like finishing the edges of the cake and making it look nice. I was like, well, if I just like throw a bunch of sprinkles on the edges, it'll look better. And that's true. So if anyone knows those Brazilian, I don't speak Portuguese, so I'm not going to pronounce it well, but the brigadeiros, it kind of gives me that vibe because it's like the chocolate ball with the chocolate sprinkles. And so this one was really hard. I remember being like, oh wow, I thought I was more prepared because I like had more decoration ideas and I had more piping tips and stuff like that. And I still felt like at the end it all kind of fell apart before coming back together finally. But I was really happy with it, especially if you look back at like the improvement from just like my husband's birthday cake and then one cake in the middle and then now this one, like that's a huge difference. So rapid improvement in these early stages. The next one were cupcakes that I did just for me for fun. And you can tell, I think these look great, honestly, but that's because I was kind of purposely going for a messy vibe. So you can tell I still don't really know how to pipe. You know, if you just like toss, these were s'mores cupcakes. So if you just kind of like toss like marshmallows and like chocolate drizzle on stuff, it winds up looking great. So I'm happy with these. So I read online about buttercream transfers because, and I told you I volunteer for that organization, and a lot of these are kids who have like a favorite character. So I was like, I should figure out how to do like a character cake. And so I read about buttercream transfer and decided that that would be the easiest way for me to start. And this is just a practice cake. This isn't for anyone. Like it's literally a single layer of cake that I just did here at my house just so I could practice the buttercream transfer technique. And thank God, because this went so off the rails. So I think with this one, the issue is that I use store-bought frosting to try the buttercream transfer technique. And now I know that that's not going to work for a buttercream transfer because it doesn't have enough like butter in it to get solid when it's cold. I didn't know that at the time. And so that's why it really fell apart. And I think my logic, I really prefer store-bought frosting, but my logic at the time was that I just wanted to practice really quickly the technique. So I just wanted to use store-bought frosting so I could practice. And these are the results. But you know, I tried something and this is how we get better as we learn from these mistakes, right? And then the other issue here is that I couldn't get specifically this frosting on the edges. I couldn't get it red enough, which is which is like an ongoing issue. I'm still struggling with getting colors to be as vibrant as I want them, which is really interesting because clearly like here I got a vibrant red, but here I didn't. So this is something I'm still really struggling with. But yeah, this was just practice for like a practice cake that I think my husband and I just ate it over the next couple days. And it is what it is. This is my next cake. Sometimes with this, when you kind of get these prompts, you get like a whole bunch of interests for this person that aren't related to each other, and you can like choose one or you can try to combine them all. And so this one said that they liked NASCAR and Legos, and I think the plural is still just Lego. So I decided to make these white chocolate Lego bricks, and I still have the white chocolate, like the chocolate molds for that, so I can do that again in the future. And then I had no idea how to incorporate the NASCAR, so I just bought this like NASCAR themed topper off the internet. And yeah, so I mean, I don't remember what flavor this cake was. I don't remember if the frosting was store-bought or not, but I did make the white chocolate molds, and I did make this kind of centerpiece with the person's name on it. I actually think this is still a cute idea, like having like the chocolate medallion and then writing their name on that. I don't like this black writing gel. I think it looks really appealing in the store because you're like, easy, black goes with everything. It comes in a little tube. It's going to be easy to write with. And it's not easy to write with. It's terrible. But I understood why I tried to make that choice at the time, and now I know better. And you can tell I'm still struggling with piping. But, you know, I'm trying stuff, I'm practicing. This one feels a little like random mishmash, but, you know, my litmus test for these ones is I ask my husband and I say, if you were a kid, would you be excited to get this cake? And he always says yes. So I'm like, okay, great. I did my job. This one was for a girl who likes Cocomelon, and I know nothing about that. I don't have kids, so I don't know anything about this show. So, and I couldn't really like pull from references. So I just got these cupcake toppers that were themed for the show offline and just put them on the cake, and then did like other fun decorations like the swirls and then the different colors of pink. The other request in addition to Cocomelon was pink. So we did pink, like this very light baby pink, and then the bright pink for some of the accents, and then bringing back those white chocolate happy birthdays. And then that same idea I did in the last cake where I made the chocolate medallion and then wrote their name on it. I think with this one, yeah, I think I wrote her name in a different type of chocolate instead of using that gel, and I think it worked better. And I stand by what I said. I actually still like this idea of that being the way to incorporate the name. So this one, like, I think it turned out super cute. I actually still really like it. I mean, you can tell that I'm not an expert here with this cake, but I think it looks cute and the impact is there, right? Oh, but I remember with this one, I got so annoyed because I had this like sprinkle mix from just like the grocery store, and it had these like sphere sprinkles. And so I like put them on the cake and it looked so cute. And then I tried one of the sphere sprinkles and it like almost broke my tooth. And I was like, oh, I cannot give this because like clearly if the interest is Cocomelon, this person is like super young, right? So I was like, I cannot give this to a child with how hard these sprinkles are. So I had to go in with those like little tweezers that you use for baking, and I had to pick off the spheres one by one, and it was a nightmare. Next were these Thanksgiving-y fall cupcakes that I did. These were really tasty. This is where I was getting a little bit finally into experimenting with actual flavors instead of just the decorating. So this is an espresso buttercream frosting. No, not buttercream, espresso whipped cream frosting. And then the cupcakes are like a pumpkin spice cake. So, you know, you can take like a spice cake mix and add pumpkin in there. So yeah, they're basically my pumpkin spice latte cupcakes. And so the espresso whipped cream frosting is my recipe that I came up with, and I found a way to stabilize frosting with marshmallow fluff, or stabilize whipped cream frosting with marshmallow fluff. That is still my favorite way to do it. The only thing is that these orange sprinkles, the colors started to run. So by the next day, it kind of looked like orange and streaky instead of like it's not sprinkles, it's like sugar, like sanding sugar. So that is something to be aware of if you're using, I guess, whipped cream frosting and this like sanding sugar, is that the colors might run. And then I try to do these little pumpkins with white chocolate, and it didn't turn out as beautiful as I envisioned in my head, but you get the idea, right? It clearly looks like what it's supposed to look like, and I still like it. And then this one was for my friend's birthday. I just kind of surprised her with this. So this is my first time using black frosting, and I used that like that black cocoa powder has a specific name. I used that, and then I don't remember what the cake was flavored like, but we used that black frosting. I think I had a like a fruit filling in the middle, and then she loves Jigglypuff, and a common conversation among us is like which like Pokemon we most relate to, and hers is always Jigglypuff. So I made her this cake. I love the colors. I think I really nailed the vision in terms of the color combos. It feels very her if you know her. And then I think it's super cute. And this is where I like had finally mastered like the buttercream transfer concept. Not mastered, but was getting more comfortable with it and super happy with it. And yeah, so I did the buttercream transfer with Jigglypuff, and then I did the 4 rosettes with the in the same light pink. And I actually have to respect my restraint because I think the exact 4 rosettes were perfect and I didn't need to do more. And then I also like using the teal as an accent. What I will say is that the black buttercream looks so impactful and cool, but you have to be prepared that it adds a specific flavor. And I haven't found a way to, like, I don't think you can use a small enough amount where it's not going to add its own specific flavor. So you have to, it's kind of like an Oreo flavor, like the cookie part of an Oreo. So if you like that, I think you can really lean into that, but I don't think you could like make this another flavor of frosting and still have it be black. And then on the sides, I didn't get a good photo of the sides, but the sides were messy and I'm still kind of not really mastering like the beautiful side decorations on an old-fashioned cake. And then I'm so proud of this one because this is my husband's birthday cake the following year. So a year after that first cake I showed you all, this was my redo attempt to make him a nice cake again, and much better, right? So he loves Snorlax. It's his favorite Pokemon. You can kind of see the theme here. And so I decided to make him a Snorlax birthday cake. I like the colors. So him and my friend's staff, their birthdays are like super close to each other. So I used like literally the same black frosting I used for most of her cake as the accents here. I did the buttercream transfer again. I'm really starting to love doing character cakes. I think it's so fun, and I'm really starting to like want to do more of it. And then you can't tell, but I wrote his name on the side of the cake because the vision for the top of the cake was so full that I couldn't fit his name on it, so I had to do it on the side. And I've seen cakes like that before, but when I showed my husband and then I showed my dad, they were kind of like, oh, why is the name on the side? So I think it's something that if I'm going to incorporate it like that again, I think it needs to not look as random. And then I also liked like the little tiny teal dots I did here. I think that was a nice touch. And that's the same bright teal I had on the Jigglypuff cake. I don't remember what flavor this was either. And then this one is a cake I was just trying at home. So I just wanted to try some decoration ideas. So there's just a lot of different piping techniques I used. It's kind of not meant to look cohesive. It's just me being like, all right, how does it work if I do this? So you can see, I didn't really get all the angles, but you can see that I'm like trying a bunch of different stuff on the sides. I actually like this theme of the cloud and the drops. And then I think these little swirls look good. My shell technique on the piping on the sides is, we're going through it right now. But that's why we practice, right? And actually, I really like this color, and I like the color with the cloud motif. I think this might be something I want to retry and kind of go back to this theme and try it again. And then this is a Hello Kitty cake. This is, again, for that organization that I volunteer for. So this was a little girl's request. She wanted it to be Hello Kitty. She wanted it to be pink, and I don't remember the flavor that she requested. But basically, it was like pink Hello Kitty, and it was just my permission to be like as girly-pop as I wanted and just to go like all in on being cutesy and girly and fun. So I did the buttercream transfer, and my one critique of this cake, I guess I have two, but like my big one is that I should have differentiated the color more for her name on the heart. If you looked at them in the bowl, they did look like two very different colors. So I thought it was going to be okay to write her name on the heart like that. But then just in practice, it wound up being a little bit too subtle. But I still like the concept. I like the buttercream transfer. You can tell I'm getting more comfortable with the technique. And then I think so far, this is my best piping. The shells look pretty good. Got a little bit of like a, what is this over here? But otherwise the shells are starting to look pretty good if I say so myself. And then I really like using these letters for the happy birthday because I think it's a much neater job than I can do with my own piping. But I'm going to try and get better at piping it myself. And then this was my first try at doing a cake drip. This was like a white chocolate ganache that I dyed pink, and it worked really well. It worked like a dream. Like, I was so excited about it. So loved the colors. I loved that I went for all the different shades of pink. I liked the decoration. I think it looked really good. I think if I were a little girl, I'd be thrilled to get this cake. My only thing is like with the name not being clear enough. And then you can tell on the sides here, especially since the frosting is so light, that my frosting technique got a little bit wonky in terms of the sides of the cake. But I think this is my best looking cake so far, and I love it. I still love it. Also, I don't know if you can see, but these swirls in the middle are white and pink. It's like a multicolor swirl, or it's not, I don't think it's white. I think it's this like light pink, and I love that. So this cake is a Godzilla Hockey Cake, and I had literal dreams about this cake. I was so excited to make it. I was like, yes, this cake is going to be my magnum opus. I was so excited about it. And then the execution did not turn out the way I thought. And that's mostly because, like, I think I had my vision, and then when I had learned certain details, like of parameters I had to meet for the cake, I should have redone my vision, but I was too committed to the vision and it wound up not working. I mean, it's still great, right? So the requests were for someone who loved Godzilla and hockey, and my husband freaking loves Godzilla. They're like his comfort movies. He took me to see Godzilla -1 in theaters, and I was obsessed with it, and I was like, oh my god, this is incredible. So then when I saw this, I was like, I have to do the Godzilla cake. And then it said they also like hockey, and I was like, maybe I should only do Godzilla, or I don't know. And then I wound up just being like, nope, we're gonna do Godzilla playing hockey. And so the topper is a Godzilla coloring page that I downloaded, and then I uploaded it to Procreate, and then I drew a hockey stick in his hand, and then I printed it out and colored it with colored pencils, and then laminated it and turned it into a cake topper. So that was a lot of work in and of itself, but honestly, obsessed. Love the cake topper. And then the hockey rink is a buttercream transfer. Again, I used like a coloring page and then turned that into a buttercream transfer. I wrote the birthday person's name in the middle, which I thought was a cute idea. And then the goals are, I think they're royal icing, or were they more buttercream? I don't remember, but I tried to do something 3D with it, and it like sort of worked. It wasn't terrible. You can tell they're supposed to be goals, but in my head it looked different. And then the hockey puck, which I love how, if you're thinking about the scale of this, like the hockey puck is like bigger than the goal itself, but that is a mini Oreo covered in chocolate. So that, I thought that was cute. And then again, like the writing, I think I like was so caught up in how many other moving pieces there were that I kind of forgot about writing happy birthday on the cake. So I wound up having to use that like writing gel that I hate working with, and it turned out super messy. And like, like the shells look pretty good, and I think it was good to do sprinkles on the edges. Here's my issue with this cake, besides the fact that the buttercream transfer is crooked. I think the fact that it was a chocolate cake that they specifically requested chocolate frosting means that I should have nixed the idea of doing the hockey rink. I think the hockey rink would have made a lot more sense if it was some sort of like vanilla frosting, and then I like made the cake itself the rink, and then I drew on like the dividers and stuff like that, instead of trying to do the whole rink as a buttercream transfer, because that was a lot. Like, this is a huge buttercream transfer to try to do, and then like chocolate frosting itself, like I just feel like it looks kind of weird because of the chocolate frosting color. And so I think I was so committed to my Godzilla playing hockey vision that I should have said like, all right, if it really has to be chocolate frosting, I need to rework this. But I was too stubborn, and it's still super fun. Again, this is something that I showed to my husband, and I was like, if you were a child who was obsessed with Godzilla and hockey, would you like this cake? And he was like, yes, full stop. But for me, because I'm trying to get better at this art form of cake decorating, I'm like, oh, there are things I wish I could do better, but I appreciate the vision. This one is Winnie the Pooh, obviously. So this is for someone who loves Winnie the Pooh. And I love Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh is my favorite cartoon character of all time. And so I was so excited to do it. And so I did the buttercream transfer because, again, that's just a technique that I'm really loving. I'm really finding that I think my favorite type of cake to do is a character cake. with the buttercream transfer. I'm really having a lot of fun with that. So I wanted to do the buttercream transfer with Winnie the Pooh. My special point of pride for this cake is that I actually drew this Winnie the Pooh. I referenced a few other drawings of him, but I drew it on Procreate, and then I turned my drawing into a buttercream transfer. And then I also liked my vision of having the honey, it's just frosting obviously, but having the honey fall out of the honey pot like this over the edge of the cake, and me at the bottom. Then I liked that I'd put glitter, like glitter, it's not actual glitter, it's just like kind of like a shimmery like what is it called, like sanding sugar, that's the word. I took that kind of like shimmery sanding sugar and put it on top. I love the effect of that. And then the shells on the side look pretty good. And then doing the red sanding sugar, I wish they were more like full sprinkles, but I think by the time I realized that full sprinkles would have looked better, it was like really late at night and I didn't have any more time to go to the store and get something else. So we had to make do with the sanding sugar. And then with the writing, my vision was kind of that messy writing that you see in the Winnie the Pooh cartoons, because it's supposed to be kind of like Christopher Robin, who's a child in the story, is writing it. But I didn't want to fully go all in on like, because if you see Winnie the Pooh, when you see like the writing, a lot of times like the B's will be backward or stuff like that. Like certain letters will be like written incorrectly. I didn't want to go that far because I didn't want it to like, I was worried that it wouldn't be completely obvious that that was on purpose. So I didn't want it to come off any type of way that like I messed up the spelling of their birthday cake. But I did kind of intentionally try to go for this like Winnie the Pooh style messier handwriting. And I don't think it quite worked the way I envisioned, but that's okay. One thing I will say is that I messed up the writing right here, and then I had to like, I think this is where I tried to write his name, and then I messed it up and I had to scrape it off and then try to recover the top, and that kind of turned into a mess. It's fine though. It turned out fine. But the buttercream transfer and the honey pot idea, I think was a great idea, and just some of the details needed to be ironed out a little bit more. And then this one was a Stitch one. I don't know why I didn't do a buttercream transfer because I love doing buttercream transfers. But for this one, I think I decided to go with a cake topper. It's something I printed out and then like made with my Cricut cutter. And then they said they wanted blue and Stitch, and so I did that, and then I just added in some of the pink sprinkles for some contrast. And I think I used a different piping tip for these shells than I did for the last one. Let me see. Yeah, that looks like a different piping tip. I think these look messier than my last one, and I don't know if it's just the tip or what that I used or what. And then you can see I messed up the name again and tried to try and fix it. So this one is actually, my husband noticed this too. He was kind of like, I feel like you're getting kind of tired, and I feel like your skills are regressing a little bit. And I actually agreed with him. And so I think this was kind of my sign, along with the next couple of cakes I'll show you, that I needed to take a break from cake decorating. So after, because you commit to these cakes when you do them for the organization, like, you know, maybe like a few weeks out ahead of time. And so I was like, okay, I need to like finish out these cake commitments, and then I need to take a break for a little while because I felt like I was getting a little bit burnt out, and I think it was starting to show in my progress. And I don't want anyone to have a cake that feels like I didn't give it my all. So I think it was a right call, and you can see it here that I'm starting to like fade a little bit. This was the vision did not turn out the way I wanted it to, and it happens, right? So actually this prompt was just sports themed cupcakes. This wasn't for any particular person. I think it was for an organization having like a party. So they said sports themed. And I actually love this idea that I did over here, where I did like the volleyball and the baseball, and I just kind of like quickly dipped the cupcake in graham cracker crumbs to be like the sand, and then I put the topper for like the baseballs and the volleyballs in there. I love this idea. If I had kids who played like baseball or volleyball or something like that, I would do this like every year. And I try to do the same thing with soccer and football, but with the grass tip. And I told you that the having issues with getting the color to be vibrant enough would be a recurring theme. That was an issue here. And then I had never worked with the grass tip before, and it hated me. The grass tip was fighting me the whole time. And I see why people think it's really, really difficult. And so I had a really hard time with it. Did not turn out the way I wanted, but you know, we tried it. And I do love the sand idea. This is super cute and super easy. So if anyone's like, I need a decorating idea that is cute, but like not all intensive, I think this is a really good one to do. And this was my first tres leches cake. So I'm in California. A lot of people love tres leches here, and it's like a very heavily requested flavor for the organization. And I'd never made one before, and this was my first attempt. And I remember that the actual cake itself, the first time I tried, was an absolute fail. Like, I had to remake the cake, and thank goodness that I started a day early, because otherwise I would have been panicking. So the first attempt I had at making the cake was a failure, and then the second attempt turned out fine. And then for the frosting, this was someone's graduation, and they love Hello Kitty, so that's why we did Hello Kitty with the graduation hat. And I actually, I drew the hat on her. So I took like a Hello Kitty coloring page, and then I uploaded it into Procreate, and then I drew the hat on her. And then I actually also drew the diploma in and typed that myself. So it was kind of like half drawn by me, half not. And I really like that. And then I printed it out and laminated it and turned it into a cake topper. And then I decorated it with stabilized whipped cream frosting, which is the way I like to stabilize it, is with marshmallow fluff. And I'm actually surprised I was able to get some like decent piping with that, because even stabilized whipped cream is not easy to decorate with. But I was able to get, some like rosettes and swirls basically, and just kind of kept going with adding the flowers because I thought it looked good. And then had to add some strawberries on there per the request, and could not figure out how to make it look good, but did my best. And then this was a tres leches cake with the theme Pikachu, and these two cakes back to back made me realize that I don't really like doing tres leches. I like eating tres leches, and I think I like doing tres leches if there isn't a requested theme. Like if they just say like, I just want a tres leches, and they don't want to have like decorations, then I'm down. But trying to incorporate a theme with how difficult it is to use whipped cream frosting for decorating, and like it's this leches cake, it has to have whipped cream frosting. Like it can't be a buttercream. It would just be wrong. So like trying to do a tres leches that has a theme is like 100% not for me. And this was the cake that made me realize it. So they like Pikachu with tres leches, so I tried to incorporate that. I actually like made this Pikachu out of fondant, and it was my first attempt at using fondant. And he's cute. He's a little wonky, but he's cute. We like it. The vision is there, right? And then I was having a really hard time decorating with the whipped cream frosting, like a harder time than I did with the last one, even though it's like the same exact recipe. So I wound up just kind of doing like these lightning bolts at the last minute, and it was like, this is what I can manage right now. So yeah, that sequence of those 3 cakes in a row, I was kind of like, I need some time off from cake decorating, which I took. And then we hit summer here in Los Angeles, and a couple things happened at once. So this has been a really hard year to be an Angelino and to live in Los Angeles. We had the fires in January, which were really devastating. My husband and I did have to evacuate our home, but we wound up like our home was fine, but we had to evacuate for a day, and it was really scary. And then like a lot of people that we know, like they were not so lucky. And so it was really, really hard, just like a very heavy time for the city. And then over the summer, we had like a lot of political turmoil here, and it was really heartbreaking. And I felt really heartbroken for my community and that people did not feel safe. I had a lot of pride to be in California and be living here. And so I decided to make a cake dedicated to California. And the whole reason I had to make a cake in the first place was because I had a request coming up for a heart-shaped cake, and I had never done that before. So I wanted to practice before it was due for someone else. And I was like, well, I'm making a heart, so why don't I make like a heart-shaped cake dedicated to California? So that's what I did. It kind of felt like my first example of like using cake decorating to express my feelings, which before I felt like I was just kind of practicing to practice because I like things that look good and it was fun to learn a skill. And I feel like once I got to this point, it was kind of like the perfect storm of my skills had progressed enough that I could start to express myself with cake decorating. And then we had this like sequence of events here that made me very emotional. So it was like, okay, I have a cake due. I've progressed enough at this art form that I can express myself, and I have these feelings that I want to express. So it was kind of this perfect storm that came together for me to want to make this cake. And so I made this heart-shaped cake like the California flag, and I actually really like it. It's a little like crooked, like it's not perfectly even, but I really like it. Yeah, there are things I could work on. Like there's still technique things I'm seeing here that I'm still working on, but I like it. I'm happy with it. I'm happy that I made this cake. I'm happy that I expressed myself with it. I did the buttercream transfer of the bear, and this was a little more finely detailed than I'm used to with a buttercream transfer, but still, I like it. And then this is the cake that I was practicing for. This person, I could tell from their request that they are on cake and baking social media. They were like, I want old-fashioned heart-shaped cake that's red with black ribbons and sparkles. And they also said that they wanted a cross on top. And so I was like, wow, this person knows cake. And I got a little intimidated because and it was also someone a little bit older, right? Like a lot of these cakes I've done, it's like someone who's like 5 or 6 or 7. And so a lot of times the idea is just like, they're just going to be so happy that like they got a birthday cake that has their favorite character on it. And this one, I was like, I can tell that this person is on social media looking at cakes. And so I kind of felt like I had a lot to live up to. But I loved the concept, right? I was like, oh my gosh, this is like my like whimsical goth fantasy, right? I was like red with black ribbons and glitter and like, oh my gosh, like it was giving me like Lana Del Rey goth whimsy combo, and I was loving it. And so I really wanted to do it. And I think this was probably like the most elaborate thing I had tried. I was so disappointed though, because this is like the biggest example of not being able to get my frosting color vibrant enough. I was trying and trying and trying to get red frosting, and it just kept coming out pastel. And I was so upset, and I like could not figure out what to do. And then it got to a point where I was like literally like, I have to get this cake done, and the frosting is not getting red enough. It's like kind of like a pastel red but not pink. But I was like, I just have to do it at this point. And I do think it would have looked better if I had been able to get the frosting red enough. But it is what it is. I still think overall, like the vision is there. I love the black cross. I did accidentally get a little crooked with the pearl outline of the cross, but I love that I outlined the cross with pearls. I think that was like perfectly in line with the like Lana Del Rey goth whimsy vibes I was going for. And then I put little pearls with the ribbons too, and there is glitter on it. And then I eventually was just like, you know what, more is more. So let's do rosettes and swirls and shells and ruffles. And my piping technique is getting better. I did get a little bit scrunched when it came time to write like the happy birthday message, but you know, I did my absolute best, and this one cake really stretched me, and there's still things I wish I had been able to do better, but I did my absolute best in that I could in the moment. And then when I dropped the cake off, you don't get a chance to like meet the person you're dropping off the cake to, but I dropped it off with someone who knew who was getting the cake, and they were like, she'll love it. So I was really excited to hear that. But yes, I kind of want to redo it. Oh, I went back too soon. Okay. And that brings us to, then I took like a for real long break from cake decorating because work got super busy and I couldn't really like fit in any of these requests. But then I decided that this next cake was just for me. And I think it's maybe the second example of me expressing my emotions through cake decorating, which feels really cool that I feel like I've finally gotten to a point where I can do that and I can express myself through cake. So I'm excited to show you my most recent cake. And that's really like the end point of this video is, you know, how far I've progressed in about a year. So this is almost exactly a year later. This is what I came up with. This is my Dia de Muertos cake. I am Mexican American, and I wanted to celebrate Dia de Muertos, and I wanted it to really feel like a true nod to Mexican culture. I really, really put my heart and soul into this cake, and I love it so much. I don't think I'm perfect yet. I still think there are things I can work on technique-wise, but I'm really over the moon with this cake. So first, what is the cake? So it's just vanilla cake in the middle. And then the filling, I made a Mexican chocolate ganache. So I used like a ganache recipe I had seen before, and then I made it with Mexican chocolate. And then the frosting is cinnamon buttercream. And then I made the flowers out of fondant. It took me like 5 hours to make all these flowers, but I made the marigolds out of fondant to kind of be like the altar. So my vision for this cake is that it would be an ofrenda, like the cake itself was the altar. So I filled it with marigolds. I made all the marigolds out of fondant. It took me like 5 hours. It was forever. I bought these monarch butterfly wafer decorations offline, and the monarch butterfly is also a really important symbol of Dia de Muertos. And so I put those on. And then my vision for the actual piping along the edges was like very abuelita. I wanted it to look like if my grandma knew how to decorate cake, something that she would like to do. And then I also made teeny tiny pan de muertos out of fondant, and that was really fun. And I don't know if you can see, but I also dipped them in sugar, like the topping. And then the calavera is white chocolate, and I tried to paint it with other colored white chocolate, and that got really messy really fast, so that didn't quite work. But we tried something. And then for the picture only, I put the candles on, and it melted the buttercream super fast, but I think it made a beautiful, beautiful picture. And so I was really, really excited about it, and it is like my pride and joy in the cake world. So that is my 1 year of progress in cake decorating. It's a huge, huge difference, and I'm super happy. There's stuff I still want to work on, but I'm really happy with my progress so far. And yeah, I think the thing I'm most proud of is that I've gotten to a point where I can really express myself with cake decorating, and it's starting to feel like a true like artistic outlet for me. Thanks, everyone.